I don't know if I got traction or not, but I got it figured out this way so far, that if I can get the right answer from David Letterman and Paul Schaefer on their sketch that they do, have you seen this? Is it anything? If they say yes, I figure I got traction after hearing my story. Actually, I'm not sure I trust their judgment, but if you would say yes, that this is anything, after hearing the story, then I feel like I got traction. Our first attempt at getting traction was getting a website. And we didn't even have the money to get a vendor like you had, Glenn. We just out of my own pocket, I was able to pay for half of a website. And that's all that got done. But we were so fortunate to have someone to say, we believe in what you're doing, and we want to volunteer and produce a professional website. I saw a couple that he had done before. They were great, and I said, let's go at it. That was August 1st. We've been in business. We've been in existence for about 6 months. Well, he was going to start all over again from scratch because he didn't like the first format. Came around to November 1st, several months later, and not a single page or word or anything had been produced. So I don't know what to call that, if it's traction, if it's anything or not. Yeah, David Letterman would set these stories up, this sketch, by saying, behind the curtain, we have a deal for you that may be a person, maybe a group of people, maybe it's an animal, maybe it's something, or maybe it's nothing. But we'll watch it, and afterwards, Paul and I will discuss it and decide if it's anything or if it's not. So I don't know if we had traction with our website experience, but I was very hopeful when I was invited to be the keynote speaker of a conference, second annual conference. I attended the first one. There were about 250 members, well represented in the nonprofit field where I live, and well organized. I showed up, got an email the night before saying this is the time and the place, and when I got there, literally no one was at this conference, not even the organizer. I don't know how that happened, but it's hard to call that traction. And I was so hopeful. But I became hopeful again when I received a call from international nonprofit foundation saying we want to get together some people to discuss how to tell the story of our sustainable goals internationally. And so could we fly you out to Deer Valley Resort in Salt Lake City for a week and be a part of this team? And I thought, absolutely, that'd be great. So I went out for a week at the end of September. I was invited to explore the possibility of facilitating storytelling among people facing different social issues internationally. And they said, would you do this? I said, absolutely. When do we get started? And the director said, as soon as you have the money. And we have no money, so we haven't started yet. But more recently, I sat down and had lunch with the director of the Department of Giving for the largest grant maker in the state. And he was very excited about our program, invited me to come again and present to a smaller group. And since then, haven't heard a word. He hasn't responded to the email I sent, which was yesterday at about 3 o'clock. So I don't know if there'll be traction there or not. But the other opportunity we had to get going was with a statewide organization that networks with about 25 different organizations combating poverty in the state. And this is an ideal client for us because our business, Sidebar Stories, is to facilitate storytelling by people that we call ordinary experts because they know the most about a lot of social issues. They're the ones that live in the midst of it. They're most directly impacted. I wouldn't want to drive a car built by Homer Simpson, but I bet Homer Simpson has some good stories to tell about what it's like to live with a brat in the house or a kid who's a genius because he's an ordinary expert at those things. And that's our mission. So this was a great opportunity. The director, the staff was all on board, ready to set up several different workshops for us to develop this visual storytelling that we do. And when they took it to the board, like any good board, said, we're not sure about this, let's table it for a while. And so we're on the table. I don't know if we have traction or not, but here's what I do know. After years as a family therapist, a facilitator in community justice, a worker in hospice where I've heard story after story after story, my life has been changed. I'm a different person because of the stories I've heard. And I know that these stories, when they're transformative, and when they're put into a personal, in our case we use a visual format, in a storyboard, that deal with real life. They have the capacity to transform the dominant narratives that we live by, the lives of people who are telling the stories, and anyone who will listen. So I'll just leave it up to you to decide, is that anything?